Hello Magic fans, I'm Beef and welcome back to another standard gameplay video, and today we are playing Goblins. So obviously, like a lot of other tribal or kindred as they're called now decks, Goblins haven't received a lot of love in quite a long time, and they haven't got a huge amount in Foundations. You know, we've played Elves and we've played Cats and they've got a lot of good cards in them. But what we have got in Standard for the first time in a while is Krenko Mob Boss. Now, if you've played Brawl or watched Brawl videos, you probably would have seen this at some point. Krenko is a 4-mana 3/3 legendary Goblin, and you can tap it to create X 1/1 Goblin creature tokens, where X is the number of goblins you control. So by itself, Krenko creates 1 Goblin, and then assuming nothing happens, it'll create 2, then 4, and and so on and so forth. But obviously, we have a lot of other goblins in the deck. A lot of these aren't new, or they are reprints, such as Fanatical Firebrand, a 1-mana 1/1 haste, and you can sack it, tap it and sack it. It deals 1 damage to any target. So a good hasty creature on turn 1, but also it can be used to take out troublesome X1s, maybe like a Llanowar Elves. We also have 4 copies of Frenzied Goblin, a 1-mana 1/1. It says whenever this creature attacks, you can pay red. If you do, target creature cannot block this turn. Really good against a go high deck. You know, if a deck buffs a creature up, you can just make it not block. It is a bit frustrating that it's when that creature attacks, not whenever you attack, and it doesn't have haste. So if you play it on like a turn and you want to get in, you've got to wait basically. 4 copies of Reckless Lackey, a 1-mana 1/2 with haste and first strike, which I think is just really good for a common. Not a reprint, this is from Outlaws of Thunder Junction, so obviously everything's a bit more powerful creature-wise now. But you can also pay 2 and sack it. You don't have to tap it to draw a card and create a treasure token. So if you've got the mana and you don't need the creature, you need that card and the treasure, then a great way to sack it, or to whiff removal, or not whiff removal, but in response to removal. We have 4 copies of Rundvelt Hordemaster. So back in Dominaria, a lot of creature types got these lords. We've seen one in the elf deck with Leaf Tree, not Elder. I can't remember what it's called. There's one for soldiers. There's this one. So this 1-mana, 2-mana 1/1. Again, not the best stats, but other goblins we control get +1/+1. And it says whenever it or another goblin we control dies, exile the top card of a library. If it's a goblin creature card, we may cast that card until the end of the next turn. So a great way to get some extra card draw. Is only goblin creature cards, so nothing else. So if you need mana and you exile lands, that's kind of annoying. And actually, I think one of my favourite cards in the deck is Sear Slicer Goblin. Don't know if this is brand new in Foundations or if it's an old one, but it's really powerful. It's 2-mana 2/1 with Raid. Raid is a returning mechanic that does something if you've attacked this turn. So this has, at the beginning of our end step, if we attack the turn, we create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. So, we play a turn 1 haster, crack in, turn 2, crack in again, play down a goblin, create, a 2/1 and a 1/1, which goes really well with our other goblin payoffs. We do have 2 copies of Goblin Oriflamme, which is actually a really interesting card. This is a reprint. I think it was first printed in one of the Modern Horizons 1 or 2, and then it's been in Jumpstart. It's the first time. I don't know if it's the first time on Arena, but it's the first time I've seen it on Arena. But it actually has a really interesting story, or interesting to me. I'm a really sad nerd. So in Alpha, there was a card called Orcish Oriflamme, or Oriflame, which was 2 mana. Red enchantment, attacking creatures we control get +1/+0. Worded slightly differently, they've just changed the wording. But it was wrong, basically. It shouldn't have been 2 mana. From what I understand, there was a disagreement whether it should be 2 mana or 4 mana, 3 in a red. And the agreement was 4 mana, but no one told the printers, so when it printed, it came out as 2 mana. So when Beta came out a few months later, Orcish Oriflamme was printed at 4 mana, so 3 in a red, exactly the same stats. But back then, the rules were you played what's on the card. So if you had an Alpha Orcish Oriflamme, it cost 2 mana. If you had a Beta one, it cost 4 mana. Obviously, at some point, they got away with that rule and changed it to there is a set rule for each card, and that's what's on Oracle. So if there's any issues, you should look up Oracle and go what it is. And so now, even if you play an Alpha Orcish Oriflamme, it costs 4 mana, even if it says 2 on the card. This is obviously a throwback to that, because 4 mana for this is crap, basically. But 2 mana for it's pretty good. And seeing as we are an aggro deck, this is a pretty good card. We only have 2 copies of it, though. Finally, round out Goblins. 3 copies of Squee, Dubious Monarch, 3 mana, sorry, 2/2 with haste. It says whenever it attacks, we create a 1/1 Red Goblin creature token tapped and attacking. And we can cast Squee from our graveyard, exiling 4 other cards and paying 4. Don't know why they didn't give it Escape, because it's fundamentally Escape. Apart from that, Escape wasn't in the set it was from, so probably a bit confusing. But Squee in the story is immortal, so that's why he often comes back from the graveyard. But again, a great way to get more goblins for our Krenko. So, and so we do have 4 copies of Burst Lightning, a new basically improved shock. 1 mana deal 2 to any target, being kicking for 4, so 5 total. If it's kicked, deals 4. So with Krenko, if you ever watched Krenko in Brawl, he is fantastic with haste, which he doesn't have. But in the wider card pool, there are plenty of goblins that give other creatures or other goblins you control haste. So you play some of them, play Krenko on turn 4, tap it, create a load of goblins which all have haste, swing in. We don't have many haste enablers in standard. What we do have is Bitter Reunion. Only have 1 copy of it though. 2 mana enchantment. When it enters, may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. Then we can pay 1 and sacrifice Bitter Reunion. Creatures we control gain haste at the end of turn. That's why I've only got 1, because it does cost an extra mana. So depending on the deck you're playing, your opponent's playing, sorry, you can play Krenko the turn, on turn 4 or the turn you have 4 mana, and be confident it's going to survive to the next turn and then tap it. But against other ones, against like black decks, you want to be able to tap it as soon as it comes down, and relying on getting that 5th mana for Bitter Reunion is a bit rough. But what we do have is 4 copies of Enduring Courage from Dustmourn. 4 mana 3/3, not a goblin, it is a dog, but it has whenever another creature you control enters, it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. And then, like all the Enduring cards from Dustmourn, if it dies, it comes back as an enchantment, not a creature. So it's hard to remove, and we still get that effect. And this plus Krenko is bonkers. You still aren't playing Krenko on turn 4, but it means if you have 4 mana, then you can play Enduring Courage and play Krenko on the next turn. Krenko gets the buff, gets haste, taps to create however many goblins. They all get haste, they'll get +2/+0, and Enduring Courage stacks. So if you have 2 of these on a battlefield, all your goblins are getting +4/+0, so they're going to be 5/1 hastes. And it is absolutely insane, and you can just smash your opponent in for like 20 damage on turn 5 out of the blue, really, because they don't necessarily see it coming. So that's the synergy. We do pull it off a couple of times in the deck, so you'll see it in the gameplay. Really, really fun. Is this deck powerful? Oddly, yes. I've played 10, 7% win rate. A lot better than Elves, which I'm surprised by. Win rates are always tough to judge, because you may have just got a string of crappy, like bad opponents, or unlucky opponents. 2 of those wins were one person scooping because they got annoyed, I think. 1 person scooping, I'm not sure why, but not particularly easy games to win. They were games to win, but yeah, we get there in the end. Really, really fun deck to play. Really, really smashing in with tapping Krenko to boost a load of goblins who all get buffed from Enduring Courage. So I had a great time playing it. Hope you all do enjoy watching it. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the gameplay. We go first. Well, we've got Enduring Courage and Krenko. We just need the lands now. Half-Eye Hero. Ooh, Llanowar Elves. Oh, there is another land. They are ramping. There's a 4th land. So in a couple of turns, hopefully, we'll be able to go off. Courage into Krenko is pretty powerful. But they do have 5 mana. I want to attack with the Hordemaster. So, what do they do? See, Brotherhood's End would be annoying. Well, let's Burst Lightning the Lanowite Elves. It might get them to do something. Just Calamity. It's probably not going to do it. Yeah. And, well, yeah. We would have hit in for, well, what? 16, 19, 21, 23, sorry, 22, 24. And they could have blocked 4 of that. So, just smash in for 20 at a go. We go first. Well, with Enduring Courage into Krenko is very powerful. So I'm going to keep it. Hopefully we can get there. Well, I'm going to play out the Goblin. Obviously we don't get the token. Well, that is so annoying. I suppose they would take Burst Lightning, or we just get whatever they do take back. And we have a backup Courage. But no Goblins on the battlefield. Wow. 3rd Enduring Courage.
No more distractions. Let's make this quick.
I mean, if they tick down, that doesn't actually do it.
Off you go.
They know we've got the Krenko. And I imagine Krenko does get removed.
Knew this was wasting time.
Well, we play out the Courage and the Firebrand. And then we activate. And we swing in. For 26. See, they could have actually survived. But, yeah, swinging in for, 26. They could have chumped one of our 5/1s. That would have been hit for 21. But they wouldn't have had Shieldred. And obviously, unless they can wipe the board, they are in trouble next turn. So, multiple Enduring Courages plus Krenko is a bit bonkers. I don't know why they minus their Liliana, because they would have known Courage comes back as an enchantment. Our opponent goes first. Well, we have Krenko, but we don't have any early plays, which and we have 3 2-drops. I'm hoping we draw into something. Up against mono black. Yeah. And we see they have, well, they're not mono black, but we see they have temporary lockdown. Well, I think we play out the Bitter Reunion. And we'll pitch. Let's pitch the Cavern of Souls, because I assume we're going to draw another land, which we are there. And then we will Reckless Lackey. And yeah, we won't play out Krenko because we can't give it haste. We need another land for that. But what we will do is play out the Hordemaster and hope we can get to combat. Because then we can attack in and then Sear Slice a Goblin, create a 1/1. If we draw a land, we can Krenko and haste. There's another Hordemaster. We won't play out the Frenzied Goblin. They obviously have more removal, yeah. That was a Bitter Reunion. We do give all our attacking creatures +1/+0. They do have their 5/5. We don't have enough to kick. Still waiting on that extra land for Krenko. What have they got down there to bring back? Nothing at the moment. Still no land. But we can take out the Faithful. And get there in the end. We go first with a pretty decent hand. Obviously would like like to find Krenko. Well, they seem to be a control deck. We will play out the Frenzied Goblin. And then I imagine they must be holding something up. Yeah. It's weird that we have to target creature before choosing whether we want to pay red or not. Our opponent thinking about something. All we've seen from them is a counterspell. Maybe they're not happy about being aggroed down by goblins. Seems to be what's happening. I mean, we're hitting it for 7, so they are on a 2-turn clock. We'll play out the Frenzied Goblin. But, yeah, if they've just disappeared, I am surprised. Could these crummy little goblins get through a control deck? Seems to be that way. Yep. Always find it funny playing against control decks when we don't actually do anything. Apart from, have one counter spell. I know they can struggle against aggro decks that get singed onto the board early, but do they not have Into the Floodmore in their hand or anything like that? Baden Hopes, I think, back in standard with foundations. Oh. So this should be lethal unless they then have interaction. Which, seeing as we don't think they're there at all. But this will probably just result in them auto-conceding. Yeah, there we go. Such a shame that people think that's worth it. We go first with an okay hand. Well, we'll pitch a bit of a union. And I think we pitch our land and just draw 2 more. Even better. Well, we can hit him with Squee. Well, let's Hordemaster. Really like a Krenko. But our opponent scoops it up. See what happens when you don't actually do a lot. But, you know, they take out the Hordemaster, I'm guessing. That allows us to replay Squee from our graveyard. You know, so we don't actually lose any power and toughness from the Hordemaster going on. And yeah, if we draw a Krenko, we wouldn't be able to give it haste because we'd sealed an extra mana for Bitter Reunion, but still pretty good situation. We go first with a lot of goblins. So hopefully our Firebrand survives so he can attack next turn so we can start creating more goblins with the Sear Slicer goblin. Would like another land. They are ramping. Well, let's Hordemaster to buff our board. The lack of a land is getting annoying because it means we can't turn on 3 Tree City. Whereas if we just get an extra land, we're good to go, really. Although, not anymore. I think we have to go digging for a land. Well, there's 2 of them. And unfortunately, Krenko's gone. They are ramping some more. Now we find the lands when we don't particularly need them. Question is, what are they ramping into?